continue to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar for IFL TV. We're at JD Sports. It's Joshua Helenius Fight Week. I'm joined by Mr. John Ryder himself. Keeping yourself in shape still?
Still ticking over, still keeping busy. Yeah, looking forward to see what's next.
Yeah, obviously you've come off the biggest fight in boxing, John. And I'm sure you saw the response when you got back to the UK. A valiant performance, one of the best really that someone's given to Canelo, especially out of the Brits. So you must look back at that fight, that experience in Mexico with pride, John.
Yeah, I mean, other than the result, there's fond memories of the fight and Mexico as a place. Obviously gutted not to have got the decision, but things went against me that night. Obviously the nose breaking didn't help, but I was in there against a great fighter, so you've got to take the rough for the smooth.
When you go into other fights now, and we'll talk about that in a second, what that could be, surely that brings extra confidence into your arsenal. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there's nothing like going into Lion's Den, and I was surely in the Lion's Den, being in Guadalajara, Mexico. But listen, it's an experience I'll never forget, and it was great to be there and experience it as a fight fan, but as a fighter as well.
We know you're a tough man. You've showed that throughout your career, but I think there's one thing being a tough man with other people, and there's one thing being a tough man in Mexico against one of the pound-for-pound best, against Canelo Alvarez. So no one can question your cojones or your heart, John.
Cojones, yeah. No, mate, listen, Mexico has produced some of the best fights in recent years, some of the best pound-for-pound fighters. And listen, whether you're beating their man or losing, as long as you're showing 110% and fighting with heart and pride and determination, then they'll take to you for sure.
In terms of Canelo himself, I remember you saying in the presser straight after, you feel like he's slightly on the decline. Why did you say that? What made you think that?
It's not a criticism. If anything, it's taken away from my own performance. I just don't feel like he's what he once was. I feel like that year he had doing the super middleweight division really potentially took a lot out of him. 4 fights in a short period of time, and he's not getting any younger, is he? So I think it's took his toll on him. Obviously the defeats to Bivol, the injuries, and the Golovkin performance. Sorry, he didn't look at his vintage best. So it's all there to be seen how he goes on from here.
How do you think he gets on with Charlo?
I think it'd be a good fight. I think people aren't giving Charlo much of a chance, but I think the move up will suit him well as well. He'll come in. He'll be fueled for everything he does now. He's probably used that extra weight to put on some muscle. He'll feel good, he'll feel explosive, and he'll put on a hell of a performance. But I'd still favour Canelo massively.
And in terms of yourself, has Eddie lined up anything for you?
No, I'm trying to collar him today, see what's next, and see what we can do. But I hope to be out in the tail end of the year and get back to winning ways.
Should we ask him? Ed, you just jump in. I was just saying to John, how much confidence he can draw from that performance against Canelo and moving into forward fights.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we always believed how good John is, but until you fight at that level, you don't really know. And what happened in that fight was the more confidence John got and the more he started believing in himself, the better he was doing. Had a tough start to the fight, but then won rounds in the back half of the fight. And I think if he did it again, he'd win more rounds as well. I know that's not going to happen, but now it's about momentum. We don't want to wait too long, and looking for the opportunity to get John back in the ring. He's in training, a little bit heavy at the moment. That's okay. We all are. But definitely going to be back in the ring this year. And then wants the big fights, of course. Golovkin is the fight we'd love. You've got Berlanga as well, great fight. Munguia, great fight. Maybe even go to 175 and fight Dimitri Bivol. At this stage in his career, he's not really looking to, get himself in a position. He just wants the biggest fights out there.
I know Ben Davison put up a post saying Billy Joe's in camp in Fuerteventura. They had a good first fight, rematch with Billy Joe.
Fight. Yeah, great fight. I mean, obviously John feels, Tony feels they won that first fight. It was a very close fight, but 2 great British super middleweights. See what weight Billy comes back at in December, looks like, and John as well. But I think, again, with no belts or anything like that, does it really matter if they fight at 170, 171, who cares? We just want to see good fights. And John's got a lot of options because now, because of his performance against Canelo, all of a sudden, other people, other super middleweights coming through will know John Ryder's a name, John Ryder's a respectable foe or opponent, and now you're going to make a mistake, we believe, if you fight him, because he's going to be better this time than he was pre-Canelo. So I'm sure he's going to get a big fight, but it must come this year because, you know, we want to make sure that we keep him active after what was a great performance.
John, just take the mic. 3 fights that you want Eddie to deliver. Tell him.
Well, I'd like Plant, Munguia, Canelo, Golovkin, any 3 of them in any particular order. I'd love to get in there with Golovkin. Been a fan for years, but put that aside, I'd love to share a ring with him and beat him. Then Plant and Munguia, either way.
So really, it's just big names now for you.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not in this sport for a long time now. I'm in this sport for a good time, so I want the biggest and best fights I can have.
Well, listen, John, I know it's not the result you wanted, but you can take a lot of credit and a lot of pride away from that night in Mexico. Yep. And then, as you said, only big fights now. So we look forward to some news on yourself, and we'll speak soon, all right?
Cheers, Umar. Thank you.
That'd be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,